welcome to section 2.6. In this video, we are going to learn how to divide two fractions. So, dividing fractions are pretty similar to multiplying fractions, except we just have a couple additional steps with dividing fractions. So, when we divide fractions, we want to keep this first fraction, whatever we have as is, and then we're going to want to change the division sign to multiplication. And then we're just going to flip this other fraction, the second fraction that we have here. And then once we do that, we just multiply the two fractions together. So this will make sense once we work through a couple examples. So we have 3/2 divided by 1/3. So I'm going to take this 3/2, keep it as is, and I'm going to take this division sign and change that to multiplication. And then what I'm going to do with the second fraction here is I'm going to flip this denominator with the numerator and flip the numerator with the denominator. So what we get is -3/1. So we're just essentially flipping the fraction. And then here, we just multiply these two together. So 3 times 3 is 9. And 2 times 1 is 2. And then we can't forget that negative that's there. So we are going to put a negative out front. And -9/2 is our answer. Looking at example 2, we are going to keep this first fraction as is, 7/4. Change the division to multiplication. And then we're going to flip this fraction. So we're going to get 7/4. And then we're going to multiply the two fractions. 7 times 7 is 49. And then we're going to put that over 16. And that is our answer. Looking at example 3, we have 27/32 divided by -4 2/3. 4 2/3. So, I encourage you to pause the video and work through it. And now let's work through it together. So we're going to keep this fraction as is, 27/32. Change that sign to multiplication. And then here, we're going to change this mixed number. So we will, when we do that, we get 14/3. Wait, hold on. So I'm going to say this becomes 14/3, and then we are going to flip this 14/3, so we get 3/14. And then from here, we're going to multiply through, so you're going to get 81/448, and that is your answer. Looking at example 4, we have 8/9. We'll multiply that by 45/32. And 8 times 45, let's see what that is here. 8 times 45, that is 360. And then 9 times 32 is going to get us 288. Now this fraction can be reduced. So let's see if we can divide both these by 4. 288 divided by 4, and we can. And when we divide both these by 4, we get 90/72. And we can, these are both even, and we can, in this case though, we can't divide both of them by 4, so I'm going to divide both the numerator and denominator by 2. So 90 divided by 2 is 45, and then 70 divided by 2 is 35. And then from here, we can simplify more and divide both the numerator and denominator by 5, we got a lot of simplification in this one. And 45 divided by 5 is 9, and then 35 divided by 5 is 7. And this is it. We can't simplify anymore. So 9/7 is a reduced fraction. Looking at example 5, we have 18 over 22 divided by -3. So this -3 becomes, we can put that over 1. And then we can say, we're going to keep this first fraction, change this sign to multiplication, and flip this 1. So you're going to have 1 over -3. And then we can divide 18 and 3, or cross-reduce, or cross-multiply these two, and divide them both by 3. So -3 divided by 3 is -1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So we get 6 times 1, which is 6, and 22 times -1, which is -22. And we get both even numbers, so we can divide both these by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is, we're going to do that. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 22 divided by 2, or -22 divided by 2 is -11. So we get 3 over -11. Looking at example 6, I encourage you to pause the video and work through it, and let's work through it together. So I'm going to change this mixed number into a fraction and put this 9 over 1. So we get 9 over 1, change that division sign to multiplication, and then 1 times 2 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, so we're going to have 3 halves. And then here, we can do 9 times 3, which is 27. We're going to put that over 2. Looking at example 7, we have these two fractions. So let's divide the two fractions. So also don't get confused with this. This is also just another way to write division. Because if you think about it like this, if we have something like this, we know, oh, that means 16 divided by 4. When we have fractions, that means the same thing. It's just different notation. So 7, we're going to keep that first fraction, 7/4. We're going to change the sign to multiplication, and then we're going to flip this fraction here. So this becomes 2/3. And then here we can cross multiply and reduce. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we get 7/3 as our answer. Looking at example 8, we have 4 divided by 8/3. So we can rewrite 4 as 4 over 1 and multiply that by the reciprocal, or we can flip the fraction. So this becomes 3 over 8, and we can cross reduce. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we get 3, and then 1 times 2 is 2. Looking at example 9, we have -1/9 divided, so we're going to change that to multiplication. And then we have a -9, which is -9 over 1, so when we flip that, that's going to get us -1 over 9. And then we're going to multiply all this by this negative that is out here. So we have we have 1 times 1, which is 1. And then we have 9 times 9, which is 81. And then we have a negative times a negative, which is a positive. So we have -1 times 1 over 81, which is just -1 over 81. That's our answer.